What's good? It's your boy Fanon. Wow, man, we had a good, some decent night of fights last night. Didn't get to cover them in a live stream yesterday like I would have liked to, but because I had a lot of things going on with this youth program that we raise money for. Thank you for everybody that's donated in the super chat. Thank you to everybody that, you know, supports in Venmo and in the Patreons. On Patreon, patrons from Patreon, thank you so much. It went to a very good cause last night. Got to get some good stuff to some kids that, you know, are in need. So thank you guys very much for supporting the channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about Eddie Hearn and some things that he said about the negotiation leading into the Deontay Wilder fight. Also, you know, he had a major promotion that he put on last night in the Barclays Center in the United States, and you know, kind of as far as the seats that were sold, not very impressive, man. I think the place was about half empty. And, you know, so he's got some excuses to make for that. And he's got a really, really ridiculous excuse for why he can't negotiate with Shirley Winkle, right? And, man, more than that, I'm definitely going to talk about boxing scene and why in the world they would even put this article out with this quote from Eddie Hearn. Because at a certain point in time, man, if somebody's going to behave like a child, you giving your platform, you letting them use your platform to act a fucking child is, you know, come on, man. We're not the boxing scene and these guys, Dan Raphael, you're actually, you know, an organization where you call yourself journalists. You know, you should hold yourself to a higher standard. And, you know, unless you know, if you're not an opinion, like this is an opinion channel, and people will call me biased and say, you're biased. It's like, yeah, biased that's what it means, is an opinion. I have my opinion. Well, I have my own values, what I think is important, and things that I like to accomplish with the channel. Consequently, I call things like I see them. I'm not going to feign that I don't have an opinion. I have an opinion. That's what that is. Opinion is opinion. If you have an opinion, you know, you're going to be biased towards your own opinion about what you think is important. So it is what it is. But Boxing Scene put an article out today with some quotes from Eddie Hearn that I think are just childish, you know, pretty much. So anyway, with that, I'm definitely going to try to do a live stream tomorrow. Probably not going to get to one tonight. The weekend's been real crazy for me. So I'm just probably going to just do this video. So thank you guys for subscribing. But we're going to do a live stream tomorrow. Please, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. And when you hit the bell icon, make sure you select the option to get all notifications so that you'll know when the live streams happen. You might watch this tomorrow, and so therefore you can probably catch the one after next. So anyway, I hope that you accept my invitation to do that. Now, the two things are the one reason, and I'll cover both of these in this video. Eddie Hearn says he can't. The biggest problem he has with negotiating with Shirley Winkle is that he can't stop himself from making fun of him. I'm not lying. He is just such a smartass that he cannot help himself from calling Shirley Winkle out of his name. And he did it he used to do it on purpose, but he's done it on purpose so many times that now it's stuck in his mind, and he continually calls Shirley Winkle, and that is just one of the reasons why. That's the reason why he cannot negotiate directly with Deontay Wilder's manager. And then he proceeds to explain why why his event in the Barclays Center really didn't sell very many tickets, and he blames it on the fact that Adrian Bronner and those guys were fighting there last week. So after that, following Adrian Bronner and that card was the reason why the Barclays Center was half empty for Danny Jacobs. I don't think that was the issue. I think it's that you have crap fights. And if you actually have two people fight people that they want to see, and you have a relationship with other promoters that allow you to get top-notch competition to fight your people, then you will get a lot of people that want to watch your boxing match. And Selecki versus Danny Jacobs is just a who gives a damn fight. And as well as Big Baby, Miller, and Dupalkis is just a who gives a damn fight. And it shouldn't have anything to do with whether or not there was a good fight than the week before that. You know, hey, people go out to, believe it or not, people go to NBA games and it's sold out. They'll come back and play an NBA game the day after, the 2 days later, and it will sell out again because people will come out of their house one weekend and come out their house the next weekend. So, you know, excuses aside, the card just sucked. And you didn't do a very good job of promoting it and getting people into Barclays Center in New York because you're not from New York. So, and you got a crap reputation with the promoters in New York because you behave like a child, so much so that you can't even call a grown man by his name and you cannot resist being a jackass. And that's aside from the fact that nobody likes you, Eddie, because you're a smart ass. Nobody likes a smart ass rich kid, man. Nobody does. Nobody likes snotty rich kids looking down their nose at people and with their funky ass prep school jokes, calling people out of their name. You just come off like a jackass. You're not from here, and it's going to be hard to promote in the United States when you don't know anybody and the people that you do know don't like you. But let me go into this ridiculous article that the boxingscene.com actually allowed on their site. I don't understand what in the world is this? Hearn reveals sensitive issue in negotiating with Wilder's manager. Eddie Hearn, promoter of IBF, IBO, WBA, WBO heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua, reveals one of his issue in finalizing a fight with WBC champion Deontay Wilder. Hearn has been trading words for several weeks with Shirley Winkle, who is the co-manager of Wilder. The two sides are now going back and forth on a guarantee of $50 million that Team Wilder presented to Joshua. A few weeks back, Hearn jokingly renamed Shirley Winkle and began using the moniker Shirley Winkle when referring to the industry veteran. And now, Hearn finds it quite difficult to refer to Winkle by his real name. He fears that during his negotiations with Winkle, he will inadvertently start calling him Shirley Winkle. With regards to Shirley Winkle, this guy came out here in this very room and pulled out an email and then I said in one interview, Shirley Winkle. It just came out of my mouth. And ever since then, everybody in boxing, I'm not very popular, but this guy is massively unpopular. Even members of Deontay Wilder's team can't stand this guy, and they phone me to tell me this, Hearn says. So, I just said Shirley Winkle once, but I got so many phone calls from people laughing about it. It's stuck in my head. A lot of times I'm trying to drop it in, but other times I'm saying it subconsciously. In fact, if I spoke to him on the phone, I would probably call him Shirley. In fact, I've convinced myself that his name is no longer Shirley Winkle, it's Shirley Winkle, and it's genuine. That's not trying to be clever or name calling. It's stuck in my head, so far in my head that I actually went to respond to an email today and put, Dear Shirley. I sent my dad to see him once because you have to understand that we're from two different schools. You have to have respect for a person who's been in boxing so long. He's been involved in so many fights like Tyson Lewis. But there comes times when you just don't have it. It's time for a younger generation. Okay. I have never, ever, ever heard that if Eddie Hearn, Eddie Hearn says people don't like Eddie Hearn, but Shirley Winkle is massively unpopular. What kind of kitty conversation is that? I'm more popular than you. I'm the most popular kid in school. What is that? You can't call a grown man by his name when you're talking about him in the media? And why would boxingscene.com put that article out? What does that accomplish other than making Eddie Hearn look like an immature high school bully? That shows the type of personality that's the type of guy I think that Eddie Hearn is, man. Eddie Hearn is just one of those smart ass silver spoon kids who think that they're funny and finds, feels happy making fun of kids with less money, or making fun of kids who, might not be as tall, or maybe, throwing food at the little outcast kids, something like that. One of them tall, snotty bullies, like the villain in a high school movie about high school students, the jackass bully who was dating a high school head cheerleader. I mean, dude, he's 37 years old, man. Grow up, man. Just grow up. Don't nobody care about the fact, and there ain't no way in the world that Shirley Finkel is massively unpopular. Massively unpopular. Who even knows who Shirley Finkel is? Other than people who are hardcore boxing fans paying attention to, like, contract nerds like me. People who want to know who the people are that are negotiating the deals. So, whatever, man. I mean, I don't get how the boxing scene did that. Now, that's what's going to hold up the negotiation, because you can't keep yourself. You don't think you can keep yourself from acting a jackass long enough to have an adult conversation. This dude is wild. I'm telling you. And I know this is not as blockbuster as, his lie of the day. Like yesterday, the fight was worth 100 million pounds. Today, the fight's worth $50 million. But oops, Deontay Wilder offered my guy $50 million. So now the fight's worth $100 million again. Oh, but then if they walk away from that one, then all of a sudden, the fight's back to being worth 40 million again. All of that type of stuff, right? God, it's nothing like that, but it's just, come on, man. The dude is just ridiculous, man. So, but on to his excuse. Hearn on the crowd. Brawner Vargas much bigger than Jacob Selecki. Yeah, it is. Maybe you should make a better fight, jackass. Maybe you should have him fight somebody better than Selecki. Anyway, in the month of April, there have been back-to-back events at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Last week, the venue held a Showtime televised tripleheader, which featured Gervonta Davis and Jermall Charlo in separate title fights, and a crossroads main event between former champions Adrian Brawner and Jesse Vargas. Last night, the Barclay held an HBO televised doubleheader with Brooklyn natives Jarrell Miller and Danny Jacobs. Jacobs topped the card in a competitive fight against undefeated Selinski. The Brawner-Vargas card packed in the house with an announced crowd of 13,964. A week later, the crowd for Jacob Selecki was announced at 7,892. Last night's card was the second promotional venture in the United States for British promoter Eddie Hearn, who several months ago started his Matchroom USA banner. A lot of industry critics were very focused on the attendance drop-off between the back-to-back Brooklyn cards. Many critics argue that Hearn's event, featuring two hometown fighters, should have sold just as many tickets or even more than a triple header which featured fighters from Ohio, Maryland, Texas, and Las Vegas. On the other hand, gotta love it, Eddie. Hey, man, don't listen to those industry experts. Listen to me. On the other hand, Hearn counters that Brawner Vargas was simply a much bigger fight. And the contest also had well-known supporting cast. The British promoter states that Showtime's tripleheader, taking place 1 week prior, took away some of the air from his card. I was reasonably happy with the attendance. It did half of last week. We did 7,000 and we did 6,000 in the at the NYBC. We're coming in a week after a really good card with Bronner Vargas, which was a much bigger fight than Jacob Selecki. Let's not kid ourselves. Charlo was on the card as well. Gervonta Davis was on the card as well. Hearn told Boxing Scene. If I did Bellew Hay at the O2, or another promoter did Bellew Hay at the O2, and then I went on a week after and did 7,000, I would be over the moon. People will try to focus and say, oh, Hearn didn't do very well at the gate. No problem. We're learning. We had a great atmosphere tonight. It was a really good show. It was a really good win for Danny Jacobs. Hearn has been boasting of very big announcements in 2 weeks. The next move in 2 weeks' time, our new announcement, then you're going to see some massive fights and you're going to see sold out arenas every time. All right, Eddie, Hearn said. Yeah. All right, that's a flop, homie. All right. You got hometown fighters. And you got half the house empty. When you have two Brooklyn fighters fighting, you have two Brooklyn fighters, not just two cats from New York, not one guy from Queens, another guy from Manhattan, that borough, Brooklyn. You got two guys from Brooklyn and you have half the place empty. That means you did not sell the fight very well, man. There's no way out of that. People turn in to watch fights, man. Like I said, you can have a Nets game, you can have a big game one week. On Monday, then people will be right back out on Wednesday if there's another basketball game. And by the way, I do believe that. Is that where the Nets play? I believe they're the Brooklyn Nets, right? So they probably do play at Barclay. So yeah, I've been out of basketball a little bit this year because I've been focused so heavy on on boxing. But man, come on, dude, you stunk the joint up. That's it. You just stunk the joint up, and maybe, just maybe, it's because of you. It's not because. And maybe you just didn't, instead of what are you doing, like talking to Boxing Scene, doing whatever, making up all kind of excuses for not making fights. Maybe if you got and hired some people that are from Brooklyn, that worked in Brooklyn, that knew the people in Brooklyn, they might be able to, in New York, might have been able to get some people out there. But that, my friend, is what you call an absolute and utter flop at the box office. Now, double that up with the fact that these guys fought on HBO, and more than likely you're going to have another flop on HBO. But we don't know for sure. I think that it's going to have somewhere around, 700,000-800,000 people probably watch that on HBO. Don't have the numbers yet, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if the numbers for Showtime was actually bigger than the numbers for HBO again, because the fights aren't very good. Daniel Jacobs fought a undefeated 154-pounder. I do believe that fight might have been mandated. And then you've got Jarrell Miller fighting, Dukakis. Who cares and who cares? You need better fighters. You need fighters that people want to see. If you would have had fighters like Deontay Wilder fighting the week after Adrian Bronner, it would have been full, like it was when he was there. Because I think they did 13,000, right around the same amount that Adrian Bronner and those guys did. But you're going to see massive sold out arenas. You're going to do that because of what? Because of you. Because people are going to come to those fights because Eddie Hearn wants them to come to the fight. Eddie Hearn going to smile? He's going to get in the camera and smile and call people out of their name and crack corny ass jokes and call people out of their names, Shirley, Winkle, and all kind of crap like that, and that's going to make him want to come see a boxing match? No, man, it's not going to fly. You have to have two fighters that people want to see. And if you have two fighters fight each other that people want to see, people will come and see them. in the United States. We've got a bunch of other sports going on. So when the reason that you're right, and Eddie Hearn was right, it was a great card the week before last weekend. It was a great card. You got to see Gervonta Davis. Absolutely, that's a great fight. You got to see Jamal Charlo. Absolutely, wanted to see that fight too. Wanted to see him fight. And then to top it off, you get Adrian Bronner. You got that right. Those are fights people want to see. Those are fighters people want to see. If you had instead of Big Baby Miller, you had Deontay Wilder fighting on the headline and Danny Jacobs after him, guess what? It would have done well. And it would have done well in the box office, and it would have done well on TV. Because people want to see fighters, they don't want to see smart ass promoters. That especially promoters that are so immature that they can't even show somebody enough respect. Number one, show them enough respect not to lie constantly. The bigger problem with Shirley Winkle and Eddie Hearn isn't the fact that Eddie Hearn can't call him his correct name. It's that Eddie Hearn lies on him. Like just in this particular video, he says in this interview, he said, what? I sent my dad to talk to him last year. I think he said he might even talk to him last November, right? However, didn't he say not long after that nobody had ever reached out to him? Right? Remember that lie? Like I said, Eddie Hearn, you just sit around long enough and listen to him talk and you're gonna hear him lie. And that's the problem with the negotiation. It's not that Shirley Winkle it's not that Eddie Hearn can't say his name straight. It's that Eddie Hearn can't get his story straight. And his thing didn't flop because of the fight the weekend before. It flopped because of Eddie Hearn and his inability to promote fighters. And that's all. And I'm out. Peace.